We're used to thinking of the world as an orderly system, that a cause is always followed by an effect, and 2 plus 2 always equals 4. We find comfort in believing we are the directors of our own lives, and that chaos is just an equation we haven't solved yet. But the universe has a cynical sense of humor. Sometimes, it feels like reality's scriptwriter gets drunk and starts copying and pasting chunks of code. A fictional book sinks the Titanic 14 years before the iceberg. A bullet waits half a lifetime for its victim, stuck in a tree. These aren't just coincidences. They are system errors that shatter our fragile logic and mock common sense. Leave your skepticism at the door. Today we enter a zone where probability theory goes out the window. Why did opening Tamerlane's tomb trigger a war exactly 48 hours later? How does a baby fall from a window onto the same passerby twice a year apart? From The Simpsons predicting Trump to twins with identical destinies. These 33 facts will prove that either history repeats itself or we are all characters in a poorly written script. Glitch loading. Number 1. The Universal Perfectionist. Picture this. 1918. The trenches of World War I. 4 years of mud, blood, and senseless slaughter. Millions of lives erased. An entire generation sent to the scrap heap. And now, the finale of this bloody blockbuster arrives. You wouldn't think there's any room for elegance here, would you? But here it is. The armistice that ended the war came into effect at exactly 11 o'clock in the morning on the 11th day of the 11th month. Not at 10:58, not at noon. Precisely 11. 11, 11. This isn't a historical document, it's a screenshot taken at the perfectly timed moment. As if the celestial office, tired of the chaos, decided to end the project on a neat number to make the reports look tidy. The Great War ended like a perfectionist arranging pencils on a desk. The irony is that even in the greatest chaos, the universe finds time for pedantic order. Number 2. Read the License Agreement, June 20th, 1941. Soviet archaeologists, full of scientific enthusiasm, opened the tomb of the great and terrible Tamerlane in Samarkand. The atmosphere must have been like something out of an Indiana Jones movie. An ancient tomb, the anticipation of a great discovery. On the slab, they find an unambiguous warning, a sort of EULA from the spirit world. Whoever opens this tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I. The scientists, being materialists, probably laughed and clicked accept. They shouldn't have. 2 days later, on June 22nd, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa and invaded the USSR. They didn't just open a tomb, they clicked on the World War II.exe file. It was as if the universe was showing us that some user agreements are better read to the end, especially if they're written on stone and are 600 years old. Number 3. A spoiler 14 years before the premiere. Imagine you're sitting in an armchair in 1898 reading a new novel by Morgan Robertson called Futility. The plot is this. A huge British liner named the Titan, the pride of engineering, is considered absolutely unsinkable. It's crossing the Atlantic, hits an iceberg, and most of the passengers die because there's a catastrophic shortage of lifeboats on board. Sound familiar? Now, let's rewind the tape 14 years forward. 1912. The liner Titanic. Considered unsinkable. An iceberg. A shortage of lifeboats. Robertson wasn't a science fiction writer. He was a beta tester for reality who accidentally stumbled upon a bug in the upcoming 20th century update. Reality's scriptwriter was just too lazy to come up with a new plot and used an old draft. Number 4. The personal thunderstorm. There are people who are unlucky, and then there's Major Summerford who seems to have personally offended Zeus. Imagine this. You're living your life, and suddenly you're struck by lightning. It's painful, it's terrifying, but you survive. Then, a few years later, it happens again, and again. 3 times during his life, celestial electricity chose this British officer as its target. It seems that after death, he should have finally found peace. But no, the developers of this character embedded some kind of bug in him that attracted electrical discharges. A few years after his burial, lightning struck for the 4th time, right into his tombstone, shattering it. This is no longer bad luck. This is a personal contract with the celestial power grid. Apparently, the universe had a deadline for electricity delivery, and Major Summerford was the only reliable address. Number 5. The Disaster Subscription. Violet Jessup was a woman whose resume could have read stress resilience, God level. She worked as a stewardess on the cruise liners of the White Star Line. Sounds like a dream job, unless you know which ones. First, she survived the collision of the Olympic with another ship. Then, she was aboard the Titanic when it met its iceberg, and survived. It seemed the universe had hinted twice that the sea was not for her, but Violet was persistent. She got a job on the third sister ship, the Britannic, which during World War I hit a mine and sank, and she was saved again. This isn't a person, it's a cheat code for immortality in disaster mode. Fate tried to delete her file 3 times, but each time it encountered a system error. Access denied. Number 6. The Copy-Paste Fate. The story of the Jim twins is that moment when the scriptwriter of reality just hit Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and forgot to change the variables in the code. Imagine 2 twin boys are separated at infancy and adopted by different families. You'd think their lives would go in completely different directions. But no. Both adoptive families, without consulting each other, name the boys Jim. And that's just the beginning. Both Jims grow up and marry women named Linda. Both get divorced. Both marry for a second time to women named Betty. Both have sons, and both name them James Allen. They even had dogs with the same name. This isn't a coincidence. It's a system failure in the random name and event generator. The developer simply copied one character but forgot to assign him a new unique ID. Number 7. The Apocalypse License Plate. We're used to thinking that major historical events are the result of complex political processes, but what if it's just following a pre-written script with some very obvious Easter eggs? On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand is assassinated in Sarajevo, which becomes the formal pretext for the start of World War I. He was riding in a car with the license plate AII-118. Just a set of characters, right? Now, let's remember the end date of the war, November 11th, 1918, 11/11/18, AIII-118. The script wasn't just written, it was numbered and signed. It's like in a video game where the key item that starts the main quest is lying in plain sight and we just don't notice it. Number 8. Literary cannibalism. Edgar Allan Poe was a master of dark and macabre stories. In 1838, he wrote The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. In it, the crew of a wrecked ship, driven to desperation by hunger, decides to eat one of their own, a cabin boy named Richard Parker. Grim, but it's fiction. 46 years pass. 1884. In reality, the yacht Mignonette is shipwrecked. The surviving sailors are adrift in a lifeboat, and to survive, they eat the weakest among them, the cabin boy. His name? Richard Parker. At that moment, reality didn't just wink at literature. It took Poe's book, highlighted a piece of text, copied it, and pasted it into its own script. Apparently, the Celestial Office was out of original ideas that day. Number 9. The Reluctant Guardian Angel. Joseph Figlock, a resident of Detroit in the 30s, definitely didn't ask for this kind of responsibility. Imagine this, you're just walking down the street minding your own business, when suddenly, from the sky, a baby falls right on you. The child fell from a 4th-story window. Fortunately, Joseph was in the right place at the right time and cushioned the fall. Both, thankfully, survived. A miracle, you'd say. But wait, this is only the first episode. A year passes. Joseph Figlock is walking down the same street again, and what do you think? The same child falls from the same window and lands on the same Joseph Figlock, and again, everyone survives. This is no longer an accident. This is a bug in the world's physics engine, where the object baby had the NPC named Joseph hard-coded as its landing point. Number 10. The Cosmic Shift Change. We're used to thinking of great scientists as unique geniuses who appear once in a century, but what if the universe works like a well-organized office, where geniuses simply hand over their shifts to one another? See for yourself. Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest minds of our time, was born on January 8th, 1942. That is the exact 300th anniversary of the death of Galileo Galilei, the father of modern science. Already a beautiful coincidence, but the ending is even more elegant. Hawking dies on March 14th, 2018. On this day, Albert Einstein was born. Moreover, this date, March 14th, is known worldwide as Pi Day. The death and birth of geniuses turned out to be looped in perfect mathematical and historical harmony, as if one genius handed over his post and another accepted it, signing off in the eternal logbook. Number 11, The Scheduled Comet. Mark Twain was not just a writer, he was a man with a fine sense of cosmic humor. He was born in 1835, the very year Halley's Comet shone in the sky. He always knew about this fact and loved to joke about it. He once said, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it." It sounds like a beautiful metaphor, nothing more. But the universe, it seems, likes to fulfill the requests of its favorite authors, literally. Halley's Comet returns to Earth every 74 to 79 years. The next time it appeared in the sky was in 1910. Mark Twain died the day after its closest approach to Earth. He didn't just go out with it, he waited for it like an old friend, and they set off on a journey through space together. It seems that at this point, logic has left the chat, but we're just getting warmed up. If you think these are just amusing bugs, just wait. Next up are real errors in the system code that will make you question whether we are all characters in a very strange video game. Number 12, the creative double take. Imagine two cartoonists. One lives in the US, the other in the UK. They have never met, never corresponded, and didn't know of each other's existence. And then, on March 12th, 1951, with a difference of a few hours, two completely different comics are published in both countries, but with the exact same title, Dennis the Menace, and both are about a little mischievous boy. It's as if two programmers on opposite sides of the world wrote the same program without access to a shared repository. The universe simply ran the same creative script twice, forgetting that it was already executing. Number 13, the presidential crossover. Lincoln and Kennedy are two US presidents whose lives and deaths are shrouded in mystical parallels. But there is one detail that looks like a bad joke from the scriptwriter. A week before his assassination, Abraham Lincoln reportedly visited the town of Monroe, Maryland. Now let's fast forward 100 years. A week before his death, John F. Kennedy, according to numerous sources, was spending time with Marilyn Monroe. This coincidence is so absurd it seems made up, as if someone scribbled a cheap pun into the script of two great tragedies, just to see if anyone would notice. The universe doesn't just rhyme events, sometimes it allows itself to make blatantly bad jokes. Number 14, The Prophecy of Low Memory. In the year 2001, the cult classic computer game Deus Ex was released. Its world is a dark future full of conspiracies. In one of the missions, the player goes to New York City, and the skyline was supposed to feature the famous Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. But they aren't there. When fans ask the developers why, they joke that according to the game's plot, they were destroyed by terrorists. In reality, the reason was mundane, a lack of memory to render the textures, a technical limitation, a common production compromise. A year later, on September 11th, 2001, the Twin Towers were gone in reality. The game, trying to save on polygons, accidentally predicted one of the most horrific events of the 21st century. Sometimes a developer's laziness turns out to be a prophecy. Number 15, the book that found its actor. Sir Anthony Hopkins was preparing for a role in the film The Girl from Petrovka and was desperately trying to find the original book by George Pfeiffer to better understand his character. He searched all the bookstores in London but couldn't find it anywhere. Disappointed, he got on the subway to go home, and on the bench next to him, he saw a book someone had left behind. It was that very book, The Girl from Petrovka. An incredible coincidence in itself, but the story didn't end there. When Hopkins later met the author of the book, Pfeiffer told him that he himself didn't have a single copy left. He had lent the last one to a friend, who had lost it somewhere on the London subway. It was that very same book, with the author's personal notes in the margins. The universe didn't just give the actor a prop, it delivered him an artifact with the creator's personal signature. Number 16, the Vienna Club of Supervillains and Geniuses. Imagine a board game where, on one small map, figures of all the key players of the 20th century have randomly appeared. This was Vienna in 1913. In this city, literally within a few kilometers of each other, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Leon Trotsky, the founder of psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud, and the ruling emperor Franz Joseph all lived and walked the same streets at the same time. Future dictators, revolutionaries, and rulers of minds were drinking coffee in neighboring cafes. It's like the lobby of an online game before a match starts, where all future enemies and allies have gathered in one waiting room before the system scatters them across the world map to begin the bloodiest session in human history. Number 17, the Doomsday Crossword. 1944, the height of World War II. British counterintelligence MI5 is in a panic. In the crossword puzzles of the Daily Telegraph newspaper, one after another, top-secret code words related to the upcoming Allied landings in Normandy begin to appear. Utah. Omaha, the names of the landing beaches. Neptune, the code name for the entire operation. Agents burst into the home of the crossword puzzle creator, a schoolteacher named Leonard Daw, convinced he is a German spy. After a harsh interrogation, the truth is revealed, which was even more incredible than espionage. It was a pure coincidence. The teacher was simply making up words that came to his mind. Sometimes the universe's random number generator produces combinations that look like a brilliant spy plan. Number 18, the karmic ricochet with a delayed start. The story of Henry Ziegland is a parable about how fate has a very good memory and an excellent sense of dark humor. In the late 19th century, Henry broke up with his girlfriend. Unable to bear the grief, she took her own life. The girl's brother, seeking revenge, tracked Henry down and shot at him, but the bullet only grazed Ziegland's face and got stuck in the trunk of a tree. Everyone decided that justice had been served in its own way. Years passed. Henry decided to get rid of the old tree on his property. Instead of cutting it down, he decided to blow it up with a few sticks of dynamite. From the powerful explosion, that same bullet, which had been waiting for its moment for decades inside the trunk, flew out of the tree as if from a cannon and hit Henry right in the head, killing him instantly. Fate didn't just deliver the package, it used an express mail service with a 20-year delay. Number 19, the Terminator Taxi, Bermuda, 1975. A man is riding a moped and is hit and killed by a taxi, a tragic accident, and now the glitch in the Matrix begins. Exactly 1 year passes. The deceased man's brother is riding the same moped on the same street. He is hit and killed by the same taxi. The same taxi driver is behind the wheel. And most incredibly, the passenger in the taxi is the same person who was there a year ago. This is no longer a traffic accident. This is a script that someone accidentally set on a loop. The scriptwriter was so lazy to write new circumstances that he just copied last year's incident, only changing the victim's name in the file. Number 20, the war that began and ended in the same house. A farmer named Wilmer McLean wanted only one thing, to live in peace and quiet, far from the war. The irony is that the American Civil War decided to make his home its alpha and omega. The first major battle of the war, the Battle of Bull Run, began literally in his backyard in 1861. Tired of his farm turning into a battlefield, McLean decided to move. He found a quiet, peaceful place called Appomattox to be absolutely sure to avoid any military action, and it was in the living room of his new house in 1865 that General Lee signed the Instrument of Surrender, officially ending the Civil War. McLean tried to run from history, but history just followed him to play out the final scene in his setting. Number 21, a coat with a history. For his role in the classic film The Wizard of Oz, actor Frank Morgan, who played the wizard himself, was looking for a suitable coat, slightly worn but distinguished. The costumers found the perfect one in a second-hand shop. Morgan started filming, and one day, purely by chance, he put his hand in a pocket. There he found a label with a name on it. It read, L. Frank Baum. The actor and the film crew were stunned. Lyman Frank Baum was the name of the author of the original book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Later, the writer's widow confirmed that the coat had indeed belonged to her husband. The prop wasn't just found. The prop found its character, returning from its creator's wardrobe straight to the film set. Number 22, the perfect symmetry of death. Military cemeteries are places of strict order, but even there, the universe manages to create its own unplanned compositions. The first British soldier to die in World War I, John Henry Parr, fell in battle on August 21st, 1914. The last British soldier to die in the same war, George Edwin Ellison, was killed 90 minutes before the armistice came into effect on November 11th, 1918. They are separated by 4 years of war and millions of deaths. By pure chance, without any intention from military planners, their graves are in the same cemetery in Belgium, just 5 meters apart, facing each other. The Alpha and Omega of the Great War look at each other in eternity. At this stage, the scriptwriters of reality seem to have gone to lunch and entrusted the story to an intern who just decided to connect all the plot lines in the most absurd way. Do you smell that? It's the smell of a burning common sense processor trying to handle the following facts. Number 23. A tragedy inherited. The construction of the Hoover Dam in the US was a monumental and dangerous project. Thousands of people risked their lives. The first official casualty of the construction was a worker named George Tierney, who drowned on December 20th, 1922. A sad but expected part of such a gigantic project. And now for a finale worthy of a Greek tragedy. The last worker to die during the construction of the Hoover Dam was Patrick Tierney, the son of that very same George Tierney. He died on the exact same day, December 20th, 13 years later, in 1935. Fate didn't just close the circle, it placed a bloody family seal on that cycle. Number 24, The Springfield Prediction. In a 2001 episode of the animated series The Simpsons titled Bart to the Future, a brief glimpse of the future was shown. In it, Donald Trump had become the president of the United States, leading the country to economic collapse. In one scene, the cartoon Trump solemnly descends an escalator surrounded by his supporters. 15 years later, in 2015, the real Donald Trump announces his presidential candidacy and descends an escalator in Trump Tower. The camera angles, gestures, background. The real-life shot was an almost 100% copy of the frame from the cartoon 15 years earlier. Either the writers of The Simpsons have a time machine, or reality just decided to copy its homework from a cartoon. Number 25. The double jackpot in the nuclear lottery. The name Tazumu Yamaguchi should be written in history as a synonym for the most incredible and most terrible luck. On August 6, 1945, he was on a business trip in Hiroshima when the atomic bomb was dropped on the city. He suffered severe burns but survived. After recovering, he took a train and went home to his main job in the city of Nagasaki. On August 9th, as he was telling his boss about the horror he had experienced and the strange mushroom-shaped flash, the exact same flash occurred outside the window, the second atomic bomb. He survived both nuclear attacks. The universe tried to wipe him off the face of the earth twice with the most powerful weapon in history, but he turned out to be a file that couldn't be deleted. He lived to be 93 years old, outliving both of his deaths. Number 26, the cursed phone number. In Bulgaria, there was a mobile number, 0888-888-888. A beautiful combination of digits, isn't it? But it had a bad reputation. Its first owner, the former CEO of the mobile operator, died suddenly of cancer. Then the number went to a crime boss who was shot and killed. The third owner was a businessman involved in drug trafficking. He was also shot dead. After the third consecutive death in 10 years, the operator decided enough was enough. The number was permanently deactivated. This isn't just bad statistics. It's a phone number that worked like a countdown timer, as if it had malicious code embedded in it that activated with each new owner. Number 27, the artifact of the 27 Club. The 27 Club is the infamous list of rock legends who died at the age of 27. Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Amy Winehouse, and many others. This in itself is a creepy coincidence, but fans and researchers have unearthed another detail that turns this into an urban myth that has become part of the culture. Many of these musicians allegedly had a white lighter in their pocket at the time of their death. This has become such a popular legend that white lighters are now considered a bad omen among superstitious musicians. It's a perfect example of how the human mind, trying to find order in the chaos of tragedies, creates its own fictional but very convincing artifact common to all these stories. Number 28, reincarnation at full speed. Enzo Ferrari, the founder of the legendary automotive empire, was an icon of speed and design. He died in August of 1988. In the same year, just a couple of months later, in October, the German soccer player Mesut Ozil was born. Nothing unusual unless you see their photos side by side. They look as alike as two peas in a pod, like father and son, like the same person with a difference of several decades. It's as if the soul of the great designer, unwilling to leave the world for long, simply moved into a new, more athletic body to continue its race. The universe didn't even bother with a new design, just released a restyled model of the same character. Number 29, the Boomerang Book. In the 1920s, writer Anne Parrish was walking through Paris with her husband and went into a second-hand bookstore. There on a shelf, she saw her favorite book from childhood, Jack Frost and Other Stories. She enthusiastically told her husband how much she had adored that specific copy as a child. She bought the book, opened it, and on the first page, she saw an inscription in a child's handwriting. Anne Parrish, 209 North Weber Street, Colorado Springs. It was the very same book. her personal childhood book, which had somehow, in an unimaginable way, crossed the Atlantic Ocean and was waiting for her on a shelf in a Parisian shop. Things don't just hold memories. Sometimes they go on a trip around the world to return to their first owner. Number 30. The Fateful Poker Hand, The Wild West, 1858. In a saloon in the town of Woodstock, Illinois, a tense game of poker is underway. A player named Robert Fallon is caught cheating and is shot dead right at the table. His seat is empty. At that moment, a young stranger enters the saloon, sits down in the dead man's seat, and joins the game. Using the chips left by Fallon, he wins a huge sum for the time, $600. The angry losers demand that he give them the money, claiming it rightfully belongs to the murdered man. The dispute goes to the sheriff, and then it turns out that the young player is Robert Fallon's son, who hadn't seen his father for 7 years, and had no idea he was sitting in his seat. He didn't just win money, he collected the inheritance his father left him a minute before he died. Number 31. The Royal Double, July 1900, Italy. King Umberto I is having dinner at a small restaurant in the town of Monza. He notices that the owner of the establishment is his exact double, a spitting image. After talking, they discover they were born on the same day, in the same town. Both of their wives are named Margarita, and they both opened their establishments. The king ascended the throne, the restaurateur opened his restaurant, on the exact same day. The astonished king invited his double to an event the next day, but the following day, the restaurateur was shot dead on the street during a robbery. When the king was informed of this, he went out to the people, and at that moment, an anarchist shot him dead as well. This is no longer a coincidence. It's some kind of fatal synchronization failure between two parallel lives. When one was cut short, the other automatically terminated its operation. Number 32. The Balloon That Found Its Namesake. In 2001, a 10-year-old girl named Laura Buxton from England wrote a note with her name and address, attached it to a balloon, and let it go. She just wanted to see how far it would fly. The balloon traveled 140 miles and landed in the backyard of a house. A man found it and gave it to his daughter, a 10-year-old girl named Laura Buxton. This isn't just a namesake. The probability of a balloon being found by a person with the exact same rare first and last name approaches 0. It's as if the universe has its own postal service that sometimes mixes up addressees, but does so with incredible elegance, delivering the package not to the intended recipient, but to someone who is a perfect match by name. Number 33. The Mathematical Easter Egg. We're used to looking for hidden meanings in movies, but sometimes they're hidden in the very mathematics of reality. Actor Keanu Reeves, who played Neo in The Matrix, was born on September 2nd. Actor Hugo Weaving, who played his main antagonist Agent Smith, was born on April 4th. Dates are just dates, but fans prone to numerology made a funny observation. If you write these dates in the European format and remove the year, you get September 2nd and April 4th. The release date of The Matrix in the US was March 31st, 1999. Now let's add the days. 2 plus 31 equals 33. And the months, 9 plus 3 equals 12. Nothing adds up, right? This is exactly how far-fetched conspiracy theories work. But sometimes the scriptwriters throw us such perfect endings that we really want to believe in them. After all, if the world is a simulation, it must have its Easter eggs. And so, the doors to our archive of system glitches are closing. We have seen 33 pieces of evidence that reality is not a rigorous science, but rather an improvisation full of bugs, references, and very dark humor. Perhaps we are all just characters in someone's very strange story, and the scriptwriter has long since lost the thread of the narrative, but continues to throw in more and more insane twists. Or maybe there is no scriptwriter, and all of this is just the fanciful patterns that chaos paints on the canvas of time. Now it's your turn. What exhibit would you add to our collection? Write fact number 34, the most incredible coincidence from your life, in the comments. Let's work together to compile a complete documentation of all the glitches in this matrix. And remember, if it seems to you that the world has gone mad, perhaps it was just always this way.